My name is Dolores Lola Valentina Rossi. I'm 85 years old, and 6 weeks ago my 3 children held a press conference to announce that I had passed peacefully in my sleep so they could cash a $12 million life insurance policy they'd taken out on me without my knowledge. They even had a coffin picked out. I watched the whole thing live on Channel 4 from my hospital bed in Naples, Florida, eating red Jell-O and laughing so hard the nurse threatened to sedate me. The headline the next day was priceless. Widow rises from the dead hours after children claim $12 million insurance payout. Let me back up so you understand how we got here. I was married to Vincent Rossi for 58 years. He owned half the commercial fishing fleet in Southwest Florida and left me very, very comfortable when he died in 2020. 3 children: Vincent Jr., 62, Isabella, 59, and Marco, 56, all successful, beautiful, and apparently willing to kill me on paper for money. It started in 2023 when I fell and broke my hip. While I was in rehab, the kids convinced me to sign a stack of papers to simplify things. I was on pain meds and trusted them. Big mistake. One of those papers was a $12 million term life policy with them as sole beneficiaries. Premiums paid from my own trust, of course. I found out in January this year when my financial advisor called in a panic. Lola, there's a new policy on you. Premium $187,000 a year. Beneficiaries, your children. Effective date: the day you went into rehab. I asked the obvious question. Can they collect if I'm still breathing? He said. Only if they can prove you're dead. I laughed until I cried. Then I got mad. I called my attorney, Letitia Beaumont, yes, she gets around, and said, Letitia, I want to disappear for a while, completely, and I want those 3 vultures to think they've won. Letitia grinned like a gator. Consider it done, Mrs. Rossi. Phase 1. I checked myself into a private cardiac rehab facility in Naples under my maiden name, Valentina. No visitors except Letitia. No phone calls. No mail. Phase 2. Letitia leaked to a concerned employee at the insurance company that I had suffered a massive stroke and was not expected to survive the week. My children took the bait faster than a tarpon on a live mullet. Within days they had death certificates forged, a memorial service planned, and a press conference scheduled for March 15 at the Naples Beach Hotel to share their grief with the community and announce the creation of the Dolores Rossi Memorial Foundation. They even hired a grief counselor for the cameras. I watched the whole circus being planned from my hospital bed on a tablet Letitia smuggled in. And I waited. The morning of the press conference, I put on the black dress I'd worn to Vincent's real funeral, pearls, red lipstick, because I felt like it, and had the nurse wheel me out the back door to a waiting car. Letitia drove. We arrived at the beach hotel at 10:57 a.m. Showtime. The Naples Beach Hotel ballroom was packed, 500 people in black, white orchids everywhere, a string quartet playing Pachelbel's Canon in D like it was a real funeral. A giant portrait of me, taken 20 years and 30 pounds ago, sat on an easel draped in black crepe. My 3 children stood on the dais looking appropriately devastated for the cameras. Vincent Jr., in a $5,000 suit, eyes artfully red. Isabella in designer black with a lace veil like she was auditioning for a telenovela. Marco clutching a single white rose and staring soulfully into the middle distance. The banner behind them read, In loving memory of Dolores Valentina Rossi, 19392025, a life of generosity and grace. A life insurance executive in a navy suit stood ready to present the ceremonial $12 million check to the Dolores Rossi Memorial Foundation the kids had set up the week before. The MC, some local news anchor with too much hair gel, took the microphone. Today we gather to celebrate the extraordinary legacy of Dolores Rossi and announce a historic gift that will change lives forever. I waited in the wings with Letitia and 2 security guards who thought this was the best day of lives laven their careers. At exactly 11:03 a.m., right as Vincent Jr. stepped forward to speak, I rolled my wheelchair onto the stage. Dead silence. Then Isabella screamed, actually screamed, like she'd seen the actual ghost. Vincent Jr. dropped the oversized check. It bounced. I took the microphone from the stunned MC. "Good morning, darlings," I said, voice carrying to the back row. "Reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated." The room exploded. Cameras flashed like lightning. People stood up trying to see if it was a prank. I smiled the smile I used to give Vincent Sr. when he came home late, smelling like another woman's perfume. "I'm sorry to interrupt your little show, but I believe you were about to cash in on a policy taken out on a woman who is very much alive." Vincent tried to grab the mic. Security stepped in front of him like linebackers. I continued. 3 months ago, my loving children forged documents declaring me deceased so they could collect $12 million in life insurance they bought in my name without my knowledge or consent. They planned this beautiful memorial, invited all of you, and were about to accept a check that belongs to nobody because I'm standing right here. Gasps. Phones came out. The moment was already going viral. I turned to the insurance executive, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the carpet. "Sir, you can tear up that check. The policy is void due to fraud. My attorney has already notified your legal department." Then I looked straight at my children. "Vincent, Isabella, Marco, you wanted to bury me for money. Today I'm burying your plan instead." I nodded to Letitia. She walked forward with a new oversized check, this one real. "On behalf of the actual, living Dolores Valentina Rossi, I am pleased to announce a $12 million gift to the Gulf Coast Widows and AMP Orphans Fund, effective immediately." The room lost its mind. People were crying, cheering, filming. The string quartet, bless them, started playing "When the Saints Go Marching In" because they didn't know what else to do. My children stood frozen on stage while 500 people gave a standing ovation to the woman they'd tried to declare dead. I rolled off stage to thunderous applause, leaving them in the spotlight they'd wanted so badly. The cameras followed me, not them. We left the ballroom through a side door while the crowd was still on its feet. Reporters tried to follow, but Letitia had arranged a police escort, 2 very amused Naples PD officers who'd known me since they were in diapers. By the time we reached my car, the clip of me rolling onto that stage was already trending nationwide. Number Grandma from the Dead was #1 on Twitter before lunch. Back at the house on Gordon Drive, I changed into comfortable clothes, made myself a cup of espresso the way Vincent taught me in 1959, and waited for the storm. It arrived at 3:17 p.m., in the form of all 3 children plus their lawyers, crying, yelling, and threatening everything from lawsuits to criminal charges. I let them in because I was raised with manners. They stormed into the living room like they still owned the place. Vincent Jr. started first. "Mother, this is fraud. You can't just pretend to be dead." And then I raised one hand. "I didn't pretend anything. You declared me dead. You filed the paperwork. You held the press conference. I simply showed up to my own funeral." Isabella tried tears. "Mama, we were grieving. We thought you were gone." I looked at her mascara-streaked face. "Grief doesn't usually come with a $12 million check, darling." Marco tried the legal route. "You signed the policy. It's binding." Letitia, who had been quietly sitting in the corner, opened her briefcase open like a loaded weapon, spoke for the first time. "Actually, Mr. Rossi, the policy is void ab initio. Fraud in the application, lack of insurable interest, and material misrepresentation. Your mother never consented. The insurance company has already voided it and is referring the matter to the Florida Department of Financial Services for criminal investigation." 3 faces went pale as wedding cake frosting. I stood up, walked to the mantel, and took down the framed photo of Vincent and me on our wedding day. "I loved your father with my whole heart," I said. "He worked hard so you would never want for anything, and this is how you honor his memory, by trying to bury his wife for money." Vincent tried one last time. "We can fix this quietly. Say it was a misunderstanding. We'll drop everything if you just..." I cut him off. "No, sugar, I'm done being quiet." I turned to Letitia. "Tell them what happens next." Letitia smiled the smile of a woman who never loses. Effective this morning, Mrs. Rossi has executed a new estate plan. The entire Rossi Trust, real estate holdings, investment accounts, and liquid assets approximately $48 million after today's gift have been placed into an irrevocable charitable remainder trust. Beneficiary, the Gulf Coast Widows and AMP Orphans Fund. You three are specifically, legally, and permanently disinherited, Isabella screamed. You can't do that. I already did, I said, and there's not a court in Florida that will overturn it after what you pulled today. Marco lunged toward me. Security, two very large men who'd been waiting in the kitchen, appeared like magic. Time to go, one said politely. They left without another word. The house was quiet again. I looked at Letitia. Now the fun part. She grinned. Already scheduled. Tomorrow morning 9 a.m. live on Good Morning America. I raised my espresso cup. To widows who refused to stay buried. Good Morning America flew a crew to Naples overnight. At 7 a.m., the front lawn of the Gordon Drive house looked like a movie set. Lights, cameras, Robin Roberts in a butter yellow blazer smiling like she'd just won the lottery. My children tried to get a court injunction to stop the interview. The judge laughed them out of chambers in 6 minutes flat. At 8:42 a.m. EST, I sat in Vincent's old leather chair in the living room, wearing my favorite coral dress and the diamond earrings he gave me for our 50th anniversary. Robin sat opposite me. Behind us, the portrait of Vincent watched like he was proud. The segment went live coast to coast. Robin started gentle. Mrs. Rossi, the entire country watched you roll onto that stage yesterday. How does it feel to be alive after your own children declared you dead? I smiled. Robin, it feels like the best cup of espresso I've ever had. Laughter across America. Then I told the story, every ugly detail. The forged death certificate, the secret life insurance policy, the fake memorial, the $12 million they thought was already in the bank. I showed the actual policy on camera. I showed the forged signature that didn't even match mine. I showed the text messages Letitia had subpoenaed where Vincent Jr. wrote to his siblings. Once the check clears, we split it 50-30-20 like we planned. Nobody will ever know. 40 million viewers watched my children's greed laid bare in high definition. Then Robin asked the question everyone wanted. What happens now to the Rossi fortune? I looked straight into the camera. Every penny after today's $12 million gift goes into a permanent trust for widows and orphans along the Gulf Coast. Housing, medical care, college scholarships, emergency grants, no means test, no questions asked. Just help for women and children who've been left behind, the way my children tried to leave me. Robin's eyes were wet. That's over $40 million. It is, I said. And not 1 cent will ever pay for another fake funeral. The interview ended with a standing ovation from the crew and a hug from Robin that nearly cracked my ribs. Within an hour, Number Lola Lives was the top worldwide trend. The Widows and AMP Orphans Fund website crashed from donations. By nightfall, we had raised another $4.2 million from strangers who said I'd given them hope. My children went underground. Phones off. Social media deleted. Lawyers refusing comment. But I wasn't finished. I had one final Christmas gift for them. Christmas Eve arrived like a miracle wrapped in salt air and forgiveness I wasn't planning to give. The Widows and AMP Orphans Fund threw a gala at the Naples Beach Hotel, same ballroom where my children tried to bury me. This time the banner read, "A celebration of life honoring Dolores Valentina Rossi and every woman who refused to stay buried." 500 guests, all in festive red and gold. The string quartet played "Oh Holy Night." The $12 million ceremonial check from the spring was now framed on the wall with a brass plaque, voided by fraud reborn as hope for thousands. I wore the red velvet gown I'd bought for Vincent's funeral that never happened. Letitia escorted me in. Robin Roberts came back to MC her idea, not mine. Halfway through dinner, the lights dimmed and a video began. It was me, filmed the week before, sitting on my porch at sunset. I spoke straight to the camera, Tonight we celebrate second chances. Some people get them because they ask. Some people get them because they're given whether they ask or not. 3 people in this room know who they are. I have one final announcement. The Dolores Valentina Rossi Trust is now fully funded at $52 million, thanks to your generosity. Every year on this date, we will gather to give grants to widows and orphans who need them most. But there is one more gift I want to give tonight. The screen changed to 3 envelopes on a silver tray. One for Vincent Jr., one for Isabella, one for Marco. I walked to the podium. These envelopes contain deeds to 3 condominiums I purchased this week on Marco Island. 2 bedrooms each, paid in full, no mortgage, one for each of my children. Because blood is still blood, even when it runs cold. You will never touch another penny of the Rossi fortune, but you will never sleep on the street either. Merry Christmas. I had the envelopes delivered to their tables by 3 little girls in angel costumes, orphans the fund had already helped. The room erupted in applause and tears. My children sat frozen. Vincent Jr. opened his envelope first. Inside was the deed, and a single photograph of me holding his newborn self in 1963, with the handwritten note, "I loved you first. I loved you last. I loved you enough to let you go." He cried in public for the first time in his adult life. Isabella and Marco followed. None of them left. They stayed through dessert, through the carols, through the moment I cut a red velvet cake with Lola lives in gold icing. When the night ended, Vincent Jr. approached me, eyes red. "Mama." I don't know what to say. I touched his cheek the way I did when he had chickenpox at 7. Say you'll be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. That's all any mother ever wants. He nodded, unable to speak. I hugged each of them quick, fierce, final. Then I walked out on Letitia's arm while 500 people sang Auld Lang Syne off-key and perfect. The next morning, every newspaper in Florida ran the same headline, "Widow's Christmas Miracle, $52 million trust, 3 condos and 3 broken hearts made whole. I slept like a baby." 1 year later, the Dolores Valentina Rossi Trust is now the largest private charity on Florida's Gulf Coast. We have funded 6 safe houses, 2 medical clinics, a scholarship program that has already sent 43 children to college, and a legal aid office that specializes in protecting elderly people from exactly the kind of fraud my children tried to pull. Every Christmas Eve, the ballroom at the Naples Beach Hotel is packed again. Same string quartet, same red velvet cake, same 500 guests who now feel like family. My 3 children come every year now. They sit at table 12 near the kitchen doors, their permanent seats by my choice. They bring their spouses and their grown children. They applaud when the new grants are announced. They cry when the widows and orphans thank me. They never speak to the press. They never ask for more. Vincent Jr. sold his law practice and now volunteers at the Trust's legal clinic 3 days a week. Isabella closed her boutique and teaches art classes to the shelter kids. Marco sold his yacht and drives the foundation van that picks up women from the bus station when they have nowhere else to go. They still have their Marco Island condos. They still have each other. And they have learned, slowly and painfully, that some gifts are heavier than money. I'm 86 now. A little slower, a little creakier, but still here. Still wearing red lipstick. Still dancing the first dance with whichever little boy asks me at the Christmas party. The portrait of Vincent that used to hang over the mantel is now in the Trust's main office with a new brass plate, Vincent Rossi. He loved boats, bad jokes, and his wife. She loved him enough to forgive his children. Every night I walk the beach at sunset with whichever widow wants company. We talk about husbands, children, second chances, and how the sea always gives back what it takes if you wait long enough. Sometimes a reporter still asks if I'm angry. I tell them the truth. I was angry for about 5 minutes, then I got busy living. If you're ever in Naples on Christmas Eve, come to the beach hotel. The door is open, the band is playing, and there's always room for one more at the table. Because some women refuse to stay buried, some fortunes are meant to buy freedom, not funerals, and some mothers love their children enough to let them lose everything, so they can finally find their way back. Merry Christmas, sugar. The champagne's cold, and the best is yet to come.